When a farmer or rancher dies, assets unique to agriculture are often left behind, leaving practitioners speculating on how to value machinery, equipment, and even livestock. Roger McEowen with the Washburn University School of Law joins us now for today's Rural Money segment. Thanks for joining us, Roger. How does that valuation process go when it comes to chattels, first and foremost?
Well, valuing chattels, Christina, is kind of a tricky thing. There's really no specific way, there's no specific rule that addresses how we value tangible chattel property, which is personal property of a farmer or a rancher. We do have a reg that says how we're supposed to value household goods and personal effects, but when we're dealing with such things as livestock and farm machinery and harvested and growing crops, generally what we have to do is itemize those, and we know that the rule says that we can't use assessed value for local property tax purposes unless that represents a fair market value as of the date of death. And that's often not the case. So it does present some issues as to how we deal with such things as these unique items that are on a farm or a ranch.
Yeah, these chattels. I've never heard it coined that way. You always bring us such great reference and you explain the key terms to us. So how is this done? Because, I mean, you don't have a Kelley Blue Book to reference when it comes to an old tractor, for example. How do they evaluate some of these fixtures, some of this inventory right now?
Well, you mentioned a tractor, and actually, with respect to tractors, there's really a good database going back decades of what tractors are worth. There's an active market in old tractors. We even have people that have specific websites and blogs. Machinery Pete, for example, just to pick on one. You can get all kinds of information about tractors, but when we're dealing with buildings and fences and water wells, those items are customarily appraised as part of the farm real estate. But if it's a fixture, if it's linked with crop production, that's where you get into trouble. So it's difficult to value those things, such as an irrigation well that's used to pump water. And IRS will classify and value these things many times as farm machinery. And if we can do that, if we can classify as farm machinery, then we're a little bit better off. We've got some guidelines that we can use. Inventory, grain inventory, usually doesn't present a valuation problem. It's valued in accordance with how it's traded on the exchanges as of the date of death. So that's usually not too much of a problem.
Okay, that's really interesting. Now, many farmers, we're going to add another layer of difficulty to the equation here. Many farmers, they're members of agricultural cooperatives. They may hold cooperative marketing rights at the time of death. How does that come into play?
Yeah, that's particularly true with respect to dairy farmers. It's also, interestingly enough, it's common among beekeepers. So how do you value the rights that they have in the co-op? Well, we have a case out of the tax court, goes back into 1968. I won't bother you with the details. But basically what that says is that a milk base, which is the right to sell a certain amount of milk through the co-op, that is to be valued separately from the dairy cows. And so you value your dairy cows, and then you throw in the milk base to see what extra value it would have in the hands of a potential buyer, and that determines your value of your milk base. So when we do have those things, it does present another layer of valuation issues that we have to deal with. And you see various allotments that farmers have, rice allotments, for example, but it's kind of the same concept as to what you have to do to value those.
All right, I want to give out your website, washburnlaw.edu/WALTR. If you have any questions about how agricultural taxes work, Roger McEowen, he has got a great wealth of information for you on his website. With the Washburn University School of Law, thank you so much for spending time with us every week. We know that you're doing it because you care truly about rural America.